most of them they're figuring shit out. They're figuring shit out for themselves. And I've written before that I think a lot of that's really starting to become lost in the industry, with Dave, what is your take on new lifters, those with maybe 2 to 4 years lifting experience with no real competition goals and not following or using a training program? Is there a way to know when you should or shouldn't start using all the gear? There's kind of two questions in here. I guess I'm an old fuck, grew up in a different time, because to me, shoes, belt, and singlets and wraps are not gear. Those are just like shit that you would wear. So, I mean, gear to me is suits and, bench shirts and all the other kind of stuff. So, is there a time when you should start, at what period of time should you start wearing shoes and wraps and a belt? I don't know, man. On that, I guess my answer is I don't really care. If that's what they're doing, that's what they're doing. It's my biggest takeaway on this question here is, what's your take on new lifters that are they're just doing everything, man. They're in the gym, they're doing all kinds of different lifts, they're doing every accessory under the sun. And you said they've been doing it for 2 to 4 years, and they're trying everything. Maybe they're maxing out every day for a while, then they're doing rep work for a while, and they're just, it's going to probably surprise you a little bit, but I see that as a good thing. Because you know what they're doing? If they're showing up consistently and they're doing this, most of them they're figuring shit out. They're figuring shit out for themselves. And I've written before that I think a lot of that's really starting to become lost in the industry, with all the information that's out there, all the programs, all the trainers, the online trainers and coaches and all that kind of stuff. I think when you're saying beginners, I'm thinking back to, high school kids, 30 years ago, there were no strength coaches, there were no personal trainers. You might find a book or a magazine, and then you go in and do 25 exercises every fucking workout for 3 hours every day of the week, and after a few years you're like, wow, shit, this ain't working. It might have worked for the first year, but you learn through that time period, you learn a lot, man. You learn a lot of things. You learn, what exercises feel better than other ones, what exercises don't. So I don't see this as a bad thing. I think it's actually, in a way, it's a good thing if we're talking about the same type of people. We could be talking about two different type of people here, but I actually think in many aspects, these guys would learn more doing what they're doing right now, just kind of screwing around, trying different shit, than they would learn working with any trainer or online trainer, because they're figuring shit out. Now if you're talking, people that are coming in the gym and, they're, putting their singlet on and they're putting the wraps on with squat shoes, and, they're working up to a 1 rep max every time they come in the gym every Saturday, and they've been squatting 155 for their max for the past 4 years. Yeah, they're probably not learning a whole lot, but it's their choice, man. It's their right. If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. Who are we to judge anybody? We're fucking power lifters. We don't have the right to judge, any of these guys and what they do and how they train. As long as they're not screwing up, your training or getting in your way, I really don't see any reason why to kind of get in their way. In time they could begin to figure it out. But those people, I've never trained in a commercial gym, so I'm kind of speaking out my ass here a little bit. Those people are probably the minority of people that go in the gym, and they're fine. They're just, think of it this way, if it bothers you. And I've read a lot of articles where people will write rants and complaints about all these different characters in the gym that just drive them fucking nuts. And keep in mind that those guys are helping to keep that gym door open. You know, so if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have the squat rack, or you wouldn't have the bench, or you wouldn't have the plate, or that gym wouldn't even be there. So, you know, it kind of comes with the territory a little bit.
How many are you gonna do?
As many as I can do. Just fucking stay close.
Okay.
Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil minds that plot destruction.
Where are you now that I need you?
Dude, we had like 30 beers last night. It was insane. What? Dude, she wasn't that fat.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. Damn! Fucking pinhead! Damn!
No, dude, she wasn't a 6. She was an 8, and I wasn't even that drunk. Oh, hold on.
What kind of bullshit is that?
2-minute rest limit. I gotta get some girls down there.